best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. William Butler Yeats.
Yeats' dire poetic vision came in the wake of the First World War, as he saw that things fall apart and the center cannot hold. Today, this fits many Americans' dark view of the conflicts in our culture and politics.
Law and order.
The poet's warnings on the dangers of dogmatism also echo, since passionate intensity often dominates our public discourse. Into this clamor comes the Humility and Conviction in Public Life Project, a multi-million-dollar research effort. It's an initiative founded on the idea that democracies don't work if citizens and institutions refuse to listen to each other. It seeks, through humanistic research, to foster intellectual humility, the sense that each of us should consider our biases and limitations to arrive at an expanded self-knowledge. The benefits of moderating conviction with humility can be seen today and in the past in all fields of endeavor. Yeats' poem implies a question. How does a culture nurture the best aspects of our deepest beliefs while guarding against the worst of our passions? How do we balance strong moral, religious, and political convictions with humility? And how can this drive action to improve our civic health and create a more inclusive and robust public square?
Hello. Welcome to tonight's discussion with W. Kamau Bell. I'm Michael Lynch. I'm the director of the Humanities Institute at the University of Connecticut and the director of the Research Engagement Project, which is hosting this event, Humility and Conviction in Public Life. This project, as the film you just looked at notes, is really about trying to balance two competing ideals of democracy. On the one hand, we all want to have conviction. We want to stand up for what we believe in. On the other hand, we also would like, at least some of the time, to maybe listen to other people's convictions. Tonight, what we're going to do is find out what happens when these ideas run into the facts about race and politics in America today. And I can't think of two people that are better suited to help us navigate this serious stuff, but to do it in a way that'll allow us to have some fun. Before I introduce them, I should note that Kelly and Kamau are going to be signing books in the lobby after the show, so be sure to pick up a book and get a signed copy if you can. So our moderator tonight is writer-in-residence and the creative director of the Nantucket Project, which is a project that brings together thought leaders and change makers to talk about ideas and move them forward. She's the New York Times bestselling author of Lift, Glitter and Glue, and The Middle Place. And her new book, Tell Me More, is about the 12 sayings that help sustain relationships. Sayings like, tell me more, I don't know, and the one I always have trouble with, I was wrong. Join me in welcoming the writer that Oprah Magazine calls the voice of her generation, Kelly Corrigan. And our special guest tonight is a social political comedian. He's the author of that easy-to-remember title. Are you ready for it? The Awkward Thoughts, I need notes for this one. The Awkward Thoughts of W. Kamau Bell, Tales of a 6'4", African-American, heterosexual, cisgender, left-leaning, asthmatic, black and proud, blurred mama's boy, dad, and stand-up comedian. I worked on that, you know. Thank you. He's the ACLU Celebrity Ambassador for Racial Justice. He's also the host and the executive producer of the Emmy Award-winning CNN show, The United Shades of America. The New York Times has called him the biggest thing that's hit political comedy in years. Please welcome to Hartford, give it up for W. Kamau Bell.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Are we going to act like we weren't just talking back there for an hour?
I don't know. How do you want to play it?
I feel like we should just be in the middle of it already.
Okay, so we're kind of deep into our first date, really. Yeah. So welcome to
Both
hour
married,
2.
but we're from the Bay Area,
yeah,
so it's
Kelly
cool.
and Kamau's first date. So I want to ask you about 3 episodes of United Shades of America. But first, I want you to just sort of bring everybody up to speed. What was the initial pitch for United Shades? And how is it the same or different than that pitch? And what was your intention with the show?
So for those who don't know, because I'm sure many people were brought here by somebody who's like, what? Why? Yeah. I'm sort of one of those people that people go, you need to see this, Uncle John. Yeah. Some people... So so United Shades of America is a docuseries where I travel around the country. Although we've been out of the country a couple times, Canada and Mexico. Travel around the country, and the pitch of the show.
Have you been to all the countries in Mexico?
That's why we had good conversation back there. It was actually brought to me. I didn't pitch the show. A production company came with this idea for a show, and I said I would stop telling the story, but I can't. I just keep telling it. So sorry, Jimmy Fox, who's the executive producer of the show, who came up with this. It was pitched to CNN as a show where a black comedian travels around the country to white spaces. So I might have come here. Yeah. And the idea was that at that point it's called Black Man, White America, but I live in the Bay Area. Yeah. So I was like, I wouldn't do that because it'd be hard to go back to Oakland and Berkeley when I was like, I just showed America what white people are like. Yeah. And also I have white in-laws, so I know what white people are doing. I got it already. So it's weird how you don't know what all of us are doing. I do. So I was like, I sat in a general meeting with CNN, and I was like, I would only do that if I could go more than just white spaces. And so they liked that idea, because I was like, we have to show what the country looks like, not just what specific parts of the country look like, and also, So they liked that idea, so Jimmy Fox, who was the producer who came up with the idea, liked that idea. He let me change it, and I don't know who did, but they changed the title to United Shades of America, which is a much better title than Black Man, White America. And so at that point, we were off and running, and we had to figure out what the first episode would be. And I was like, I got it. Even though I was like, I don't want to go to white spaces. I'm like, let's go talk to the Ku Klux Klan. Because I was like, if we're going to go to white spaces, let's really go,
Let's get this done right off the bat.
Let's just clear it out of the way. So somebody's like, I bet you wouldn't. Oh, he did the first episode. Yeah. So we ended up the first episode, which people ask me about to this day. I went to Dawson Springs, Kentucky, and Harrison, Arkansas, where we talked to 3 different factions of the Ku Klux Klan. And the first day of filming, we filmed in Dawson Springs and ended that day at a cross burning. That was the very first day of filming the show. I just met the camera people. They were all white. I was like, are you guys secret Klans members? They said, why would you ask that? And I was like, wait a minute. So no, and most of those characters are still on the show. And we went and that was how I spent the first day of the show, was going to a cross burning and then going to an Outback steakhouse and eating steak and drinking gin and tonics, trying to chase the pain away.
So go further into that day. Like, is it horrifying to you that it still exists? Like, how strong is the KKK right now? Is it waning at all?
No,
because
are we
getting saner? Or?
No, the KKK is only waning because the smarter people who would have been in the KKK back in the day are now just in the government. So, like they're just or they're in corporate America. They're just like, I mean, Malcolm X said in the 60s, like a lot of them have taken off the sheets and have put on suits. So Malcolm, I want to make sure Malcolm X gets credit for that before me. But, and so, yeah, like the people who believe the ideology of the KKK, like, you know, somebody like Steve Bannon, aren't dumb enough to be put on the outfit because that sort of has been demonized correctly. So the KKK mostly at this point is people in rural areas being exploited by people who are like trying to figure out who are like, it's basically no difference than it's a scam. It's like a pyramid scheme, you know, but it's a particularly racist pyramid scheme. But you know, it's people in rural areas who don't have jobs, who haven't had good educations, who don't see opportunity in their life, and then somebody tells them, I think it's black people's fault.
Yeah.
And as the KKK did rise in numbers starting in 2008, 2009, because one of the best recruiting tools you can have for the KKK is a black president. So, you know, now they don't have to do that. They can just work in D.C. So it was like definitely like the Klan still exists. For me, the idea was like, as a black person who grew up in this country talking about race and racism all the time, because my mom talked about that all the time and her friends did, I always sort of knew the Klan was still out there. And so for me, that show was about, like, can I challenge myself to go to this place that I really shouldn't go? Which was the initial pitch of the show, was places where a black man shouldn't go or you wouldn't expect him to go. We have we're not really doing that sort of on the nose anymore, thankfully. But so that was like this, and also this is a challenge. There's also the pilot, so we had to film it and then see if CNN would buy the series. And I was like, well, we have to go big or go home. Like we can't, and also if it doesn't go on TV, at least I have the story. And if I die, at least it's a good story.
Do you have an opinion about why there isn't a KKK for gay people, or a KKK for Asian people, or a KKK for other?
Do you mean KKK
small
like
groups?
like Asian people would start their own KKK chapter, or like? I know, I'm just trying to be like gay people would be like, we're gay and we're in the KKK, or why the KKK doesn't target those groups. That was like.
That's what I meant.
Okay, because America. So here's the thing. It's not that the KKK particularly likes gay people, because they claim to be a Christian organization. Many Christians don't like gay people. It's not like they love Asian people, because they're sort of like pro-white. But if you want to rally the most people, if you want to really rally your white supremacist cause, black people are who you talk about. They also don't like Jewish people. They used to not like Catholics, but they've softened that rule. So like,
Did you talk about that with
yeah,
these
we did
guys?
talk about that. Yeah, they're like, there's like, Catholics, they're okay now. All right. But no, they consider Asian people and Latino people to be part of the mud races, which is what a guy said that on the show. But it's like, if you really want to like rally the troops to your cause, like the black people are the New York Yankees of the thing you hate. Is that what I mean? Like, like. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, they're the thing that everybody points at when they talk about the thing. So it's like, that's how you rally the cause to get people to hate that thing. So we're, yay, black people, yay.
So in terms of conviction and intellectual humility, I want you to talk about 3 episodes. One is, and you may have already been talking about this one, but the most popular episode that you've ever made in the 3 coming on 4 years, right?
Yeah, our 4th season starts April 28th. And
then, and what you think that says about us as viewers, why that was so popular. I want to know about an episode that you feel was overlooked, that you had high hopes for, that you thought this one's really going to connect, and it didn't. And I wonder if you have any theories about why. And then I'm wondering if there was an episode that stands out for its impact on you, on the way you think or the way you feel about something.
So the KKK is the one that I hear the most about. Like, if I'm in an airport, which I am a lot, and I'm walking through and somebody stops me and they go, man, you're the guy from CNN, or you're Questlove.
Yeah.
Which happens about 25% of the time. Happened, I think, yesterday in the airport. But if they know it's me, the guy from CNN, if you ever come up to me and recognize me, you might see for the first few seconds I'm like this, because I'm waiting to hear if it's Questlove. I'm like, okay. So you're the guy from CNN. And then they go, man, I love your show. I love that one episode where you, and I'm like, don't say KKK, don't say KKK. Where you went to the KKK! And I'm happy that they engage with the show. But that was the first episode of season 1. We're about to have the 4th. So we have 24 episodes in the world. But that's the one that people think about, because it was like, I mean, it was intentionally sort of like sensational. I mean, I think it's a good episode, but it was also just like, it's the sizzle, not the steak, you know? So I think that people have, I get it. I get that when I die, if there's no obituary written about me, it will say KKK in it, which is weird to accept. But it's like, I just feel like, I feel like every season we talk about like, let's like try to top that in some way. Now we're not gonna top it because I'm gonna do something that foolhardy. I'm not gonna try to go, like there was some pressure initially from like go to other, let's put Kamau around other white people who hate him, you know? And I just was like, by the third season, I was like, I don't wanna do that anymore. Especially when it was like, the country had changed so significantly. Like when we taped the KKK episode, it was 2014, August 2014. People were like, really like, why would you talk about the KKK? There's not really that level of racism in the country. Yeah. And then it aired in like April of 2016. And at that point it was, you know, like we were in a very different America at that point. And so I wish, it's like, it looked like we had just taped it. It looked like we were then like, it looked like to some people like we had decided to do it to capitalize off of what was happening when really it was not that.
But it's not a different America. It's just like seeing different parts are more visible at different times.
Well, yeah, when I say different America, I mean the one that mainstream media is discussing. Yeah. It's a different America in mainstream media. It's the same America, but we focus on different areas. And that we focus on, and also depending on who's in power, we sort of learn about some of the defining characteristics of the country.
And what episode do you wish we would all watch?
So season 2, another episode that got a lot of attention, the premiere was called, the name of the episode was Immigrants and Refugees, but it featured an interview with, at the point we did the interview, with an unknown white supremacist, pretty unknown white supremacist named Richard Spencer. He was a guy, like somebody was like, we had already decided to film in DC, and one of the people one of the producers on the show, like not even an exec, somebody who worked in the offices was like, while you guys are in DC, there's this like a white privilege conference or something, and with this guy, Richard Spencer, and maybe we should talk to him. It was just like, all right, like, by the time we got there, his profile had raised a little bit, like there was all this, because Trump had won at that point. There was all this media who had shown up, and like we had already booked it from before, but we had to wait for him to talk to like media from all over the world. Then by the time it aired, he had been punched in the face in a viral clip and become apparently the person's here. So we used the clip of him getting punched in the face, but it had happened months after we had been there, and he'd become like a national figure. And so the problem with TV that's not live, like not happening, is that people still think TV is live, even when it's clear you taped it a long time ago. So people had all these feelings about Richard Spencer now and wondered why didn't you punch him in the face? Or why didn't you, first of all, I wouldn't, because black people go to jail for doing nothing. I'm not gonna punch him in the face on television on my show. So, and I'm also not a punch in the face guy. I mean, I will if we need to go there, but I'm not like, I don't open the conversation with that. But I would have talked to him about it, you know, but it was like, so, and then it became this thing, and this was like when liberals were all like when Trump was first elected, like, I'm not even gonna mention his name because I'm not gonna normalize him, and I'm not even gonna talk about, because I don't wanna normalize him, because we're not gonna normalize, and why would you give him your platform? Platform, normalize, platform, normalize, platform, normalize. Normalize platform, platform, normalize.
There's your pick.
So it was like, people were like, why would you normalize him? And also, why would you give him your platform? To me, it was, and we don't use those words anymore, but they were the buzzwords of the time. People were trying to figure out how to deal with, like especially people, Democrats liberals trying to figure out how to deal with Trump, and it became about like, I'm not going to normalize him. It was like, he's the president, which defines him as normal. And we have to figure out how to talk about it, or else if you're saying you don't want to normalize him, or you don't want to talk about the issues that created this thing, what you're really saying is, I'll be fine. That if I don't need to talk about it because my stock portfolio is pretty good, and I'm vested at work, and I have tenure, so I'll be good. You know what I mean? You're saying, I'll be fine, so I can wait through this. Whereas the people who won't be fine need to figure out, how do we get through this moment? So for me, it was just like, it was there was the first time that the sort of the cool, hip, liberal press had turned on me, and all these people like, I would have punched him in the face. You aren't punching anybody in the face. Right. And so I had to sort of like hold on, and the rest.
And that's no way to deal with anything. Good God, I mean.
No, when people like, the person who's always like, if I'd been there, I would have punched them in the face, has never punched anybody in the face. Right. You know who never said that? Mike Tyson never said, if I'd been there, I would have punched him in the face. Like he wouldn't talk about it because it's what he does on a daily basis, you know. So for me, it was like the first time that I got sort of turned on, and also people tried to shame me, and I really in that moment was like, started like, do I feel the need to be shamed in this moment? And the thing that it dawned on me much later, I got NPR shamed several times, but like, which is the lightest shaming possible. Because it comes with a cup of tea and a shoulder massage from Joe Biden. I was just trying to compete with your thing earlier. I was like, she got the first applause break. But the Richard Spencer episode is maybe like, there's one interview with him that lasts maybe like a 6-minute segment, and then there's also talk about the conference. But most of the episode is talking to immigrants and refugees in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. And it's a very pro-immigrant and refugee episode. And there's great interviews in the episode. One with a woman named Ruby Corrado, who runs like a home for people who are sort of like refugees who need a place to stay that caters to the LGBTQ plus community. And it's a great interview. And there's a joke about the transgender Betty Crocker. But nobody paid attention to that. And most people, Chris Rock told me this years ago, most people don't watch the thing, they watch the commercial. And so people would watch the commercial for Richard Spencer and then had all these blah, 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 or they watched the whole episode sort of mad about Richard Spencer, didn't take in the rest of the information. I'm like, there's amazing, progressive, radical people in that episode, but you focused on because you didn't want to confront the inequities of this country, you decided to blame it on the black guy, which America loves to do. So for me, that's the one that I feel like is like the one that it's like, if people go back and look at it, I think they would see it in different eyes. And also, history has proven me to be right to expose Richard Spencer as a jackass, because now he's on the internet begging for lawyer fees for people. Yeah. So it's like I feel like I'm not saying I did that, but I certainly everybody look at this. Like the funny thing is that the alt-right community wasn't happy with his interview. Like I exposed him to his own people who were like, "Whoa, dude, slow it down a little bit. Right. That's a little extra racist." Right. Like, you know. So for me, it was like I stand behind the work. I stand by, but it's the one that I feel like there were better interviews in there that people just didn't pay attention to. Yeah.
And what about a situation where you went in to do an episode and you thought you had a point of view about it that was pretty firm, and then there was something about your interactions with the people or something you learned on the ground that actually changed your mind? Because I do feel like it's quite unusual for adults to change their mind about anything truly important.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, hey.
Think people could see me like.
When was the last time you changed your mind?
That would be great. I would be, yeah. It's like, not today. I know, not paid for that. So, I'll say two things. One, the first season we did a show in San Quentin Prison, which is about a half hour from my house. I didn't realize that. It's in Marin, California, Marin County. And it's a prison in California that's mostly for lifers. So you go, we're gonna go do an episode in prison. It's the lifer prison. It was the prison where like Manson had been there for a while, and like Scott Peterson is there now. And so it was like, we're gonna do an episode in prison because that's a wacky place for Kamau to go, to like that he shouldn't go and he doesn't want to go. And I'd never visited a prison. I'd never been in a prison before. And I went into it like, two things. The was this. One, it just feels like they're gonna think I'm corny by going in there to like asking them about prison. So tell me about prison. It just feels like it feels corny to go in there and talk to them about their experience, and like why would they want to talk to me? And two, like there's a whole tradition in this country of prison pornography where they show you a tour of a prison and show you the worst, most salacious aspects of it so that we can all be like, ugh, it is for the worst people. That person should be in prison. And so all of us, on all sides of the aisle, like there's that show Lockup that airs like that sometimes where it's just people in prison going through horrible things in salacious ways that we can make fun of and feel like, thank God I'm not in prison. And I was like, I don't want to do that knowing that that black people and people of color are overrepresented in prison. I don't want to be a black guy sort of contributing to that. What I didn't know is that San Quentin is like the prison that every inmate in the state of California wants to go to, because it's the prison where the inmates sort of graduate to, because it's the one where like I'm not trying to cause any trouble. I'm trying to work on myself and get my degree and also be on good behavior, because I want to figure out how to get out of prison. Or at least I want to make my life in prison an experience where I can still grow and become a new human being. So I didn't know that. So that was the thing I found out once we sort of started doing the research. I was like, okay, but I still felt corny. And then I walked in, and this is on camera on the episode with the warden, Sam. I can't remember his last name. Sam. We walk in. He's deputy warden, and he's like, sort of like, how does it feel? And I was like, oh, it feels kind of like a community college. You know, it's very San Quentin's very sort of like, you know. And then I was like, as he's asking my question, I'm like, yeah, it feels. And then some man from across the yard who's an inmate goes, love your comedy, bro. And I was like, feels pretty good.
Yeah.
And in that moment, my whole sort of like the fact that I was like, you just sort of don't know what they have access to or why or what they, you know, we sort of every dude in here has probably seen Shawshank Redemption. Yeah. And you sort of had this idea of what it is. Like, I would be in the shot, I'd punch him in the face. And so, but it just in that moment, like the fact that they had, and this is before this, we taped this before any of United Shades had aired. So this was other stuff they'd seen of me, which I was like, which was not as easy to get to as United Shades Americans. Right. So I was just like, it sort of opened me up. And then immediately, within like about a half hour, I was sitting amongst 5 black men talking about prison. And they were all very open about it. And they were all, like, they all were super fun to talk to and nice people and smart and had thoughtful things to say. And the rest of the episode was like, my eyes kept being opened up. And by the end, I was sad to leave. You know what I mean? And then just this weekend, I was in Oakland. I was doing an event with the ACLU. The ACLU has their 100th anniversary this year, so they're traveling around doing a tour about the ACLU. And this guy comes up to me and goes, hey, man, remember me? And I was like, he's like, oh, shit. He's like, yeah, we met in San Quentin when he was in prison. He was working on the newspaper, and now he's out in the world doing advocacy work for teenagers. Yeah. And I've been back to San Quentin a couple times since then. I co-hosted a talent show there. I went back and screened the episode there. So I would like to go back more because it's so close to, most prisons are way off. They purposely put them way away from urban environments or major areas. And this one is like I said, it's literally like the most expensive property in Northern California is about a mile from San Quentin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing, I have a friend who was in San Quentin, actually, and for murder, which he did, and he is out.
Every person I talked to said they did the thing they were in for.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean everybody in San Quentin did it, but like everybody I talked to was like, yeah. Now some of them did things where it was like, my third strike was shooting a gun in the air, and now I'm serving life in prison. And now you should not shoot a gun in the air, but some of us have come from towns where that's how you celebrate the 4th of July. Right.
You know.
And
but
nobody goes to prison.
This guy said that the gift of San Quentin is its location, and I assumed it meant because they have these incredible views of the Bay Area, because that's how dumb I am.
Yeah.
And
we can see Coit Tower.
Yeah. The Blue Angels are in town. But no, what he meant was there's so much volunteerism that's around them that they're loaded with. They have like 20 incredible programs where people come in and teach them how to code, or people come in and teach them how to go through these experiences where they outline the consequences of their crime in this great detail such that they might be able to forgive themselves and be more productive as a result. So San Quentin is a particularly interesting place because of its location. Yeah,
most prisons are, like San Quentin is the closest thing to what I've heard of the way that we should do all prison in America, but we're not even close to how they do it in Norway, where it's like the longest sentence you can get is 20 years. They live in like apartments with televisions and like their own showers, and that it's all about rehabilitation and try to have a low recidivism rate. And whereas in America, we would rather not do that.
Don't you feel like everything's better in Norway? Like, I feel like there's so many stats where it's like, well, they're the number 1 in X, Y, and Z, and that's like another.
No, I do, and then I look at like like racial diversity. I'm like, ah. Like I just feel like usually the countries that have all those things, I'm like, they don't have a ton of people, and then like I can't exactly move to Norway. I have a real sense of being. I don't want to be the black guy in town. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I want to talk about conversation and what makes for good conversation and why it's so difficult for us to find ourselves in open-ended conversations where we don't actually know where it's going. So first I just want to ask you, do you find yourself changing your mind frequently or being in a conversation where you're saying things you haven't said before?
I think that's, yes. I used to do that with adults, now I do it with my children. But like I have a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 9-month-old. So I find that my kids regularly get me in places where I'm like, okay. Like, this happened a couple years ago. My family is drama. There's a thing happened where I was with my daughter Sammy. We were in Alabama visiting my dad. We were going to go to Mardi Gras, and my dad had a lawyer come over.
Do you know that Mardi Gras is not in Alabama?
What? Are you kidding?
That's just tips from me. Go ahead.
See, this is, I hate to have to do this.
Yeah.
Do you know that Mardi Gras was started in Mobile, Alabama?
Touche.
Yeah. Hate to have to, I don't want to, is that mansplaining what I just did? I think I was, okay. I think I was just splaining.
Yeah.
So Mardi Gras, which started in Mobile, Alabama, but was then adopted by New Orleans, and New Orleans has turned it into like a drunken freak show, whereas in Alabama, it's a place you can take kids to. We were there, and my dad had a lawyer come over, and we had to do all this stuff, and it got to a point where I was like, my daughter doesn't need to be in this room because we're talking about like end of life preparing, and so I took my daughter out of the room, and she's like, "What's a will?" I was like, "All right," like, and we had to sort of go through this thing that I was like, I've never had to explain to somebody what a will is before, but I had to figure out how to explain it to my daughter in a way that doesn't fill her with anxiety about the death of everyone around her, and so within about like 2 minutes, because I had to get back in the room, I explained to her what a will was, and she's like, "Okay." So for me, kids are one way to do it. But I think also moving to the Bay Area in '97, I guess I get some credit for this, but I found myself in rooms regularly in the Bay Area, hopefully it's still a little bit like this, where you're with people who are not like you, who are having conversations you never heard before. Mm-hmm. I'd moved from Chicago, where for the most part, Chicago back then was trying to keep everybody in the room of people that look like them and were act like them. But I found myself in the Bay Area, like sort of like, I remember the first time I was like, vegan cheese? like you're eating a chip, like, vegan cheese, okay. Like where there were in that time a million of like different things, and like I found myself around a group of people who were fine to go. The best quality I have is not being afraid to be told I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to be told I'm wrong if you're going to explain it to me what I'm wrong about. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to sit and listen as long as it doesn't feel like a lecture, as long as it feels like you're inviting me to be smarter. Mm-hmm. And that's basically my brand at this point. Mm-hmm. So for me, like if I don't get enough of those conversations, United Shades is a place where I sort of am booked to be in those conversations, where I sort of show up, like, to explain this to me, and sort of I can sort of sit like a student, but like somebody who's like, you can say all the things you need to say that you've never gotten to say before. Yeah. But also, I think that comes straight out of my life, which is why I do it on TV.
Yeah. And do you have thoughts about conviction and why is it that we've for so long considered it such an appealing quality in a person, and it's sort of a leadership trait? And I personally am drawn to conviction, both people who have it and also the feeling itself within me. Like, I want to get to a place where I have some sense of certainty and a strong point of view, and then I kind of love it there. Like, I kind of sit in it.
I mean, for me, it's like I definitely have a lot of conviction, but the conviction is underlined by trying to get to the truth. I think a lot of people's conviction is built on conviction or built on wanting to be. If you like being the smartest person in the room, you're probably not that smart because you haven't cultivated a bunch of smart people around you. So for me, there's a thing, you see this in show business all the time. There's like people, I've been around celebrities, when they walk in the room, smart people get dumb because, for example, when Dave Chappelle walks in the room, everybody's IQ drops about 50 points just because they're like, oh, it's Dave Chappelle. It's not his fault. And I'm not saying this is indicative of anything about him, but I've seen it happen where people who normally like are very well spoken are like, yeah. And I think for me, I'm like, I don't want to get to that point. And I think, Dave also hangs out with a lot of smart people. But I think for me, it's like some people, I don't think Dave relishes that. Some people relish that. And some people cultivate that. And so for me, it's like, I just watched the Theranos documentary. Yeah. And clearly she was cultivating people who thought she was the smartest person in the room. Right. When you're like inventing medical technology and you don't surround yourself with any doctors or medical scientists, right. You're clearly not looking for the smartest people around. You're trying to find the people who are like, a magic box?
Right. Right.
Here's some money, Right.
Right.
So for me, like, my conviction is based on like, right, as somebody who moved to the Bay Area who like, it's funny, I just ran into this woman again. When I lived in Chicago, I knew one lesbian and didn't know any gay men. I moved to the Bay Area, and very quickly it sort of shifted to like suddenly like, and so then all of my knowledge of lesbians was based on Angie from Chicago. And I was like, she's cool. Yeah. Lesbians are cool. I still believe that. But also my knowledge base of the LG community, the LGBT community, like it keeps expanding. Even so, this season of United Shades, we have an episode about Mormons in the LGBTQ plus community in Salt Lake City. And in Salt Lake City, I learned, oh, plus. I didn't know you could just, oh, for all the other letters. Like that just happened this season. You see it on camera. I go, oh, I like the plus. Like it to me, and that happens on camera. So for me, I really like learning new things and being able to sort of like expand my knowledge base, and I appreciate that. I think we really, there's sort of the American tale is baked into it, like wanting to be the smartest person in the room and wanting to be the leader, and in that is like, you know, but we have a history in this country of people standing on clay feet who want to be the leader, you know? So I just saw Vice, the Adam McKay movie. This is all things I see on planes. But, you know, and it's like, you know, and it's like to really like to just accept Dick Cheney as a guy in a suit and then to go, what? Like, you know, a drunken guy who failed out of college? Like, you know, if I'd known that going in, if we'd all known that, things would have been different. But we just sort of accept the suit and the way he looks is like, you are an authority, you know?
Right. So do you, other than your show, which brings so much diversity into your life, diversity of thought and opinion and lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What are your most trusted sources of like nuanced content, like stuff that keeps you nimble on your toes and protects you from falling into like these super strongly like rip shit held beliefs, if you will, because it's like kind of a rip shit held beliefs moment, right? Like everybody's foaming at the mouth and everybody believes what they believe is unassailably right.
Yes.
And that's terribly problematic. And then, of course, it's just supported by all these technologies that we've created.
And I think to me, like my Boots Riley, who directed Sorry to Bother You, is a friend of mine. He talks about the algorithm, that the algorithm your phone, Twitter, Facebook, it's set up to an algorithm that's tailored to you, and we don't think about that. So you think you're getting all the information just because you read a Daily Beast article and a Slate article and a CNN article. And that's like, no, the algorithm goes, this is the things they click on. And so for me, the thing I work to is keep the algorithm as wide as possible and also reach outside of the algorithm, go look up things, don't wait for the things to be presented to you. I think it's easy on social media to just let things come to you. And for me, it's like means like watching things that I know going in are gonna piss me off. But just to go like, I just need to hear what this is about. I need to, you know, so clicking on like alt-right videos or Fox News videos or things that I'm like, I need to sort of get out. I think it's important for us to get outside of our comfort zone and not let the algorithm dictate what we think, because eventually that's what happens.
Do you think that people still believe in the goodness of the people on the other side, whatever the other side is? Or do you think that not only are we rejecting your positions, but we're also rejecting your ethics and your values and therefore your very humanity?
Again, I think this is about the algorithm. The algorithm runs on hate. Like Twitter will tell you the engine is hate. The thing that keeps the thing going is like if some people were like this thing on Twitter called being ratioed. Like if you post something and people hate it, more people respond to it when they hate it than if they like something. And Twitter knows that, and so it keeps the algorithm in a way that it like sort of encourages hate. And I think that's, if you are arguing with somebody on the internet who you don't know personally, you're wasting your time every time. Every time.
For sure.
Every time. If you're having a discussion with somebody who's like, well, actually this, I didn't know, that's a different thing. But if you're like going in there, like it's like too many of us adults, we think we don't play video games, but you're playing a video game every time you argue with somebody on the internet that you don't know. Oh, I'm gonna show them, wait till I send them this article. You know, like it's, and so for me, that's playing into the algorithm, and that's what creates the like when because you can say things to somebody on the internet that you would never say to them to their face. And you can feel good about it and brag to other people about it. I burned that guy. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, do you even know if that's a person? So for me, it's about like not getting. I went through that thing on Twitter where now I actively don't. If I hate the thing you just posted, I keep it moving. If I think I can engage with you in a way that I'm like, I think you've just missed this one, then I will respond. But I'm not responding to, and if somebody sends straight hate to me, I only respond if I feel like this is like, if it's like, I can have fun with this because I'm a comedian, but I'm not actually going to return hate with hate. It's just not, it's a waste of our time. And I think too many of us are engaging with hate as a substitute for engaging with change. So I think that like, because change is harder. So for me, it's find ways to engage with change. So one thing I've done, and we talked about this earlier, there's an organization called Donors Choose. Yeah. That is Donors Choose.
Do you guys know Donors Choose? So great.
Well, those of you who don't know, it's an organization that helps public school teachers raise money for class projects that can be as little as I need number 2 pencils, or as big as we all want to go to Washington, D.C. to start the revolution. And so, but the thing is, like, I found I found it through Stephen Colbert, and my wife told me about it. It's a way to sort of like in the middle, like sometimes when things happen on the internet when I'm like, I can go like, I'm gonna buy this teacher some pens. You know what I mean? Like it's just a way to sort of focus that and do a thing that at the end you feel better about instead of worse about. So I feel like we all have to figure out ways to engage with the things that we're feeling right now in a way that is positive and productive. And there's more organizations than Donors Choose. You can donate to any local organization, or there's any number of things you can do. But for me, Donors Choose is one of the things I go to. But I also think it's important to there are legitimately people in this country who are not worth my time engaging with in any sort of like productive way, even if they sat down right here. They absolutely, thank you 3 people. Because they are so invested in this thing being right that they're not invested in being correct. Yeah. And so for me, there's absolutely, I'm sort of accepting that there's I don't know, what is it, the 30% of people who are there's this sort of, whenever they do these polls, who knows how accurate, but there are people who, I don't care if you voted for Trump back then, if you're right now going, this is going well, I can't really engage with you. I can talk to you on TV and let other people see that you exist in the world, but I can't really spend my time trying to convert you into something else. I have to figure out a way to get around you. Yeah. And I think, so that's where I think so that's where it's I can't. So for me, it's people this is going well. Okay, great. Yeah. I'm going to go tear down the Electoral College. All right.
How's that going, by the way? Any hope for that?
We're working on, I just talked to somebody this day about I don't know, think that's
Tell
possible.
These guys what you're up to with the Electoral College.
Yeah, so the thing I said to somebody today, they're I don't think we can do that with the Electoral College. Who here 15 years ago, because some of us are older, we remember 15 years ago, thought that gay marriage was going to be the law of the land right now? Who here, 15 years ago thought that there were going to be states where you could go in and be I would like a lot of weed to smoke today?
Actually, you don't have to go in anywhere. You can just say, I would like this delivered to my door around 3 o'clock.
Yeah. No, but who here thought those things seemed like magic boxes? But those things happen. And to me, it's this is the country that had legalized, we still legalize it in prison, but legalized slavery. That was not a popular position to take of I think we should eliminate slavery. People are why would we do that? Do you see how rich I am? Yeah. This country at one point had to debate women voting, white women voting. These are things that we had to actually sit, so to me, why is the Electoral College harder than that? I think we get caught up in whatever we think is going on now is got to be somehow permanent, and also it's easier to sort of it's hard. It's going to be hard to do, and so some people would rather just not do it and then provide reasons why it's impossible. But literally, you can't be a black person in this country and think that change is impossible, or you wouldn't get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. One place where I feel particularly tortured is that we both...
And now we're therapy. All right.
Kamau. So we live about 5 minutes away from each other, and
but about 2,000 miles away from here.
Yeah, exactly. In California, and maybe here too, I don't know, there's tons and tons of issues on the ballot. For instance, how many square feet should a chicken have? And when that happened, the first time I was asked that, I'm from Philly, and the first time I was asked my opinion about those things, I thought, this is so strange. Why would you ask my opinion about this? I'm uninformed, and I don't even know where to get informed. But if you play that out, and if you're honest, the truth is, I know what, my side of the aisle says we should do about healthcare, public education, guns, but I don't actually have, primary research on any of those matters, and I don't even know if I'm smart enough to process the whole thing anyway. Like, healthcare? Like, should I have a strong opinion about healthcare? Do you ever feel like, how would we be an informed electorate if we were this humble electorate, and that we were to come to our convictions by honest research that's open-ended, where you really could discover that you're actually siding with Mitch McConnell, you're actually siding with Nancy Pelosi, whoever's more horrifying to you, that you were that open-minded going into it, where would you even go?
I mean, I do think that what we're sort of, I think, reading down to is the idea that, like, like the faster we can get away from a left versus right paradigm in political discussion, the better we will be as a country. Mm-hmm. I think that slows a lot of things down, because you sort of go, what does the left think about this thing? What does the right? And I'm certainly on the left as far as we define it, but I'm also like, you know, there's areas in which I'm like, I don't, you know, where I don't agree with Nancy Pelosi, you know. So, and I think that the less we approach politics in this country like team sports, you know, and more like the decathlon, where there's a bunch of individual events and everybody's good at different, you know what I mean? Like, I think we're like, everybody's not doing the same thing, that we sort of look at them individually. I think that it's smarter for us as a country, and I think that we're like, we also have to, again, this is about like not trusting. The thing I'm so happy about is that when issues come up that I'm unaware of, I have people in my life I can go to who can direct me to to better sources. Mm-hmm. And I think we all have to encourage more new information coming into our brains, and not expect that we're going to know about everything, or that our immediate circle is going to know about everything. So when you say the thing about chicken coops, I was like, oh, I would call NATO Green in San Francisco, and he'd be like, I don't know, but here's the person you should go to. And eventually, the thing about the chicken coop thing, it may come to a thing where it is your decision. Mm-hmm. That nobody's going to give you the right answer. Mm-hmm. And that's when you just go, like, you don't have to know everything about everything, and you shouldn't expect to know everything about everything, but you should try to engage with the issues that are important to your community, you know? And I think that...
So do you think it's ever reasonable, when you're filling out a ballot, to not vote on some things? Like, let's say that once you get past, like, the senators, and then maybe you're into the Congress people, and then below that you're into like the state superintendent of schools, and you don't know one thing about any of them. Is it acceptable to not vote? Or are you abdicating this gift?
I think it's all personal responsibility and choice. I kind of think I think you are allowed to do the thing that you feel best about in that voting booth, which is why we're supposed to be doing it inside of that little thing, and I think the problem is when people step out of that and then want to engage with other people about what they did in that booth. Mm-hmm. I really think it's I just think it's like, I get really, like, people are asking me, like, right now, like, I feel sort of gross about the fact that at some point somebody's going to ask me, like, we can talk about this now, which of the Democrats am I supporting? I'm like, ask me about what porn I like. You know what I mean? Like,
Kamau, what porn do you like?
I'm so glad you brought this up. But it just feels like it's like we are so about wearing this badge in our chests right now, about like I'm with, and then to see people defend people online who, like the Joe Biden thing, like, why are you defending Joe Biden against what this woman? You don't know any of these people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why do you feel like it has to be so team sporty that you have to be like, well, I like the Yankees no matter what happens? Right. It's not the same. Right. And I think it really invites you to sort of dumb down your own instincts when you just defend your person at all costs. So for me, I just think that, like, it just feels really like I really relish the fact. I think I went through a point in my life when I was younger where I was like, I don't vote because I think the system is rigged. I'm not going to yell at a young person who thinks that way because I was there.
Yeah.
Also, not all young people think that way. I think young people are more plugged in than I was at that point. But I also think we should lower the voting age to probably at least 16, if not 13. But yeah, that's not an all skate. I knew that would. I think we should lower the voting age, but that's impossible. Didn't we remember what I said earlier? So, but I think that, like, I really think that shaming people about voting is also not going to work until voting is at least like a 5-day week, like weekend where you get off from work and get paid, yes. And it's open 24 hours a day.
Do you have hope for that legislation, like making voting easier, making it a national holiday, all that kind of stuff? You have hope for that?
Yes, yeah. No, I absolutely think that, like,
You're an optimist. Are you an optimist?
I'm an optimist who's like, I remember years ago seeing the movie Ghost Dog. There's a lot of movies I'm talking about. Yeah. And in Ghost Dogs, it's a great movie. I think it's a great movie. It's all subjective. Forrest Whitaker's in it. That speaks well for it. He plays a samurai. I'm selling you on it. It's Jim Jarmusch. How could you not see it? So in the movie, he talks about the samurai's code, which I don't know if this is truly the thing, but he said the idea is like a samurai imagines their worst defeat so that when they can go into battle, they can sort of like do their best. And I was like, oh, that's what I am. I'm a samurai. So I'm completely weighed down by self-denial and sadness and insecurity and fear and what are other bad? I want ice cream. You know, like all the things. But I can't. But I go through all that stuff because I then have to step out into the world and sort of do the thing. So I feel very much like I'm very much accessing all my sort of saddest parts and most sort of insecure parts. I don't think I would be. The one thing I agree about being a comedian is that there's got to be something inside of you that's broken that makes you want to like. I need the laughter of strangers. Yeah. So I accept that, but it doesn't mean that I don't have a good time doing the thing. So yes, I am certainly I certainly have to be optimistic, but I come from a tradition of the black people in this country where like, yeah, you can be an optimist, but you also got to do the damn work. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Martin Luther King Jr. was not a bummer as a speaker.
Yeah.
He was not like, I don't know everybody, you know, like. He didn't go, I haven't been to the mountaintop. I haven't seen the promised land. Nobody's going to get there. He didn't say that. But he also walked to D.C., you know. Yeah. That's a horrible impression of Martin Luther King Jr. I know that already. Don't worry about it.
So in the spirit of like honoring the complexity that is public policy in the United States, and this idea of yours about team sport versus decathlon,
which I just made up, so I don't know if
I like it.
I don't know if I'm going to. Well, good. Okay,
really,
good.
That was really helpful.
Okay.
Is there an issue where you side with the right? Issue or issues where you think, oh, that's actually a better policy idea?
I hate the right. I hate even thinking about it that way. An issue where I side.
Can somebody tell me a
right wing? Because here's the thing. I can understand people who think that we should have a strong military, and that gets classified as a right wing issue. But I don't believe the leaders of the Republican Party are even thinking that way. Like, I don't think they're thinking about it as like they're thinking about like, how do we move this money around? How do we do things that are in our best interest and then frame them as a strong military? So for me, I understand the theory that you want police in your neighborhood, but I don't understand when you see examples of police like actually not policing the bad people, but policing the people in the neighborhood from living their lives freely. So for me, like, there's issues where you can start to go, I grew up, like, it wasn't until I was an adult and I thought about this. We did an episode about guns on United Shades of America. And I suddenly realized, like, wait, my mom had a gun when I was a kid. Because she was a single woman with a kid and we lived in Boston, and you might have to. My dad had guns in the house because he comes from the South, and it's just a different culture. Looking back, I think that probably they were not, luckily nothing ever happened, but I certainly remember they weren't locked away. So I get people who are like, I feel like I want to have guns around me. I have this need for guns, but that doesn't match up with the NRA. So there's these things, and we have an episode this season about left-wing Second Amendment advocates in Tacoma and Seattle, white people who are using their gun rights to protect like Black Lives Matter protests from the alt-right and Nazis. So the episode's called Not All White People. So pretty proud of it, even though I'm gonna get some Twitter hate. But
keep the house lights down, okay?
But those issues might be thought of as right, but I don't think the leadership of the Republican Party or the leaders of the right wing are not living true right-wing conservative values. So there's a lot of things that if you go, well, the way I understood it as I grew up, yes, but not the way it's enacted now by the people who lead the party and who have seduced members of the party to think that these are right-wing values.
Is there a Republican that you like? Like, is there one
I like
that
my dad.
You think is really? What did he say?
I like my dad.
I mean,
I
like my mom. I mean, I'm sort of thinking of her right now. Is that like all these years we've been in this conversation together, and I'm trying, and I of course give her the benefit of the doubt that she believes that if she were designing a country from scratch and she were trying to make all these decisions about all these different in all these different policy areas, that was her bet for like the policy that would work for the most amount of people.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta believe that there are people on the other side, whatever the other side is to you, in whatever arena you're talking about, who are decent and who are thinking as hard as you are about what could work for the most amount of people.
Yeah, I just think that some people are doing that without enough information to really make an informed decision. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, but I mean that in a way that, like, their life experience, if you've only grown up in one particular area of the country and you've only seen one type of lifestyle and you've only seen the things that you think work for your community and you're making decisions and you have ideas about how people live in other communities, well, you don't have enough information.
Right.
So it doesn't matter that you've considered the issue. It's like, for me, if they were like, Kamau, we need you to design the next space shuttle. All right. I've considered the issue. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I accept the fact that you've picked the wrong guy, and I'm going to go, but I will also go find people who know that information and let them do it, and I'll just come out and take the award at the end. You know, so it's kind of how United Shades works. But, like, I just think that you have to be okay not knowing. You have to be okay saying, I don't know. And I think a lot of people in this country, and this is, again, the algorithm tells you know.
Yeah. Well, and then we have to be okay as the people who elect these people with a person who says on a stage during a debate, I don't know, actually don't know what I would do about that yet. I haven't looked at the files yet. I don't have that information. I'm not privy to, like, the morning report that I would get as president, but here's how I would go about it. Here's the people I would want to hire. Just as you said about the chicken coop. Like, I knew who I could call.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, pretend like I know everything that I'm being asked about during a presidential debate. It's like almost absurd that no one ever says, I don't know.
But because I mean, you know, there's this whole idea where we want we're betting we want surety. Yeah. Which is not actually the best quality in any situation. No. So, like, it's like there's a situation where surety is not a good thing. You should be like, I don't know. That's good, none of us know. I'm glad we can all relax now and we can all figure this out together.
Yeah, let's make a list of shit we got to figure out.
Yeah. And I think that, like, it sort of has led us to where we are now, where, like, Donald Trump isn't the problem. He's the result of the equation. You know, it's like when you add up the history of America, and you do all the math, and you carry the ones and the twos, and you do the thing, and it's sort of Trump. You know what I mean? Like, so this is where we got because we valued surety over information. Right. You know, and the Electoral College, but we already talked about that. Yeah. So I think that, like, I just think that, like, we have to place a value on intellectual curiosity, which we don't place a big value in intellectual curiosity in this country. Yeah.
So are you following this thing about speakers going to college campuses and then being cowed away because college campuses don't want to be, the kids in the classes and in the lecture halls don't want to be triggered in any way by an idea that is anathema to them? Mm-hmm. So where is that?
I talk on college campuses a lot, so I feel like there's this thing that happens where I think that, like, you know, like, it's funny, like, they're like, Richard Spencer's another thing, like, he went to speak at, I think it was, is it Auburn? I think it was Auburn. Yeah, he went to speak at Auburn, and there was, like, a security and a riot and a thing and people, and he talked to 15 people, and people booed him, and I was there, like, either a week before, like, 2 weeks, like, right within the same period of time, and it was a sold-out place, and now here's the thing, my politics are less Alabama than his politics are, but it's the way, to me, this is about, like, the way you go about your business. Are you going in to engage people, or are you going in to trigger people? And I think Richard Spencer, there's a lot of intellectual dishonesty out there about people going to college campuses who are actually going in there, whether it's Ann Coulter or Milo Yiannopoulos or Richard Spencer or any number of other people I could mention, who are actually going in for the show. They're not going in for the actual debate and the actual sort of, like, experience of connecting with a college campus. Right. You know, people talk about Berkeley, like Milo tried to speak at Berkeley, or Ann Coulter, and it was a whole big thing. And they're like, Berkeley's too left-winged. Do you know who works at Berkeley? I think his name's John Yoo, who wrote the Bush torture memos. Oh, really? Yeah, right now. At least last time I checked, he's been working there for years. Yeah. I don't know what, you know, but apparently, like I'm saying, Berkeley is not all one thing. Right. But whatever he's doing, he's not going there, he's going in there to do the work, and Berkeley feels like he's doing it, and the students he work with feel like he's doing it. But I think there's an intellectual dishonesty among a lot of this stuff. And I also think that college is also a place where students are, like, learning how to speak up for themselves, and it doesn't mean you have to agree with everything they say when they speak up. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a petri dish for try on some life for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not real life, it's the gym. And sometimes you go to the gym and go, man, I lifted too much. Right. And I think sometimes students are not doing things where I'm like, that's not great. I wouldn't do that. But I'd rather them getting kicked speakers off campus for triggering them than raping people. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like I think sometimes we focus on this one thing and like, what's going on frat row over here?
Right.
You know, so
Right.
for me, it's like, I think that like, you shouldn't agree with everything a college student does, and college students should also look back on it and go, yeah, I probably went too far that one time, because that's what it's a privilege to go to college and experience that life. A lot of people get out of high school and then like, I got to get a job and I got to get some benefits because I have 2 children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, I think there's too much made about colleges. First of all, colleges are automatically by definition safe spaces. Like they are separated from the rest of the thing. They have their own police force a lot of time. They have little thing. A lot of them, you probably have like little thing. If you're in trouble, hit this phone number and call the, you know. So they're set up to be that way, and that means that sometimes people chafe against other people's idea of what's going on there. So I think, and that's what they're supposed to be for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you really admire? Like, what writers are you reading? What filmmakers? Like, who do you think is sort of the most intellectually open?
Roxane Gay is one of my favorites.
Uh-huh.
It's just like, I've been around. We did an event for my book. We did an event, and my publisher was like, we've asked Roxane Gay to do the book event in LA. I was like, no. What did she say? Yes. Oh no. Because I figured she's gonna let me know if she hated it. I mean, she'll probably, yes, I take it because he needs to learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she said she liked it, and I was like, I didn't ask a lot of questions because I was like, I don't want to investigate that too much. Thank you for liking it. So Roxane Gay, who her book is bad. She's written the book Bad Feminist and Hunger. She's great on Twitter. And then Alicia Garza, who's one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, who we use on an episode of United Shades of America this season, the Not All White People episode, because if anybody knows about white people, it's one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter. And so Alicia Garza I feel like is an underutilized resource in the world. A lot of people have an idea of Black Lives Matter and terrorists, and she's just a beatific figure.
Great.
Like it's like being with somebody like you feel like is like, you know, just glows from the inside and but is also will read you for filth if she needs to. And I've seen that happen. So Alicia Garza, Roxane Gay, Eve Ewing, who's a poet and writer out of Chicago, who just works in she's like a poet, but also writes comic books. But I had her do some consulting work in United Shades of America this season, and so I'm always trying to find ways to get my friends and people that I admire into work. I'm just like, that's the best thing about being a Bishop. You can like make phone calls to people that you admire and have them be a part of your thing because of fame or whatever. Yeah.
The other thing that's nice about being famous, I noticed when I was watching people fall all over Kamau, was that this guy saw this morning on Instagram that Kamau likes like this double shot cappuccino dry. Where are you? Are you in this room?
He works here, yeah.
Yeah.
No, first of all, the drink is wrong, so you're not being very nice. It's a 2-shot. It's a small mocha with 2 shots of espresso, no whipped cream. It's very simple. So you can tell.
And he just brought it right to Kamau without Kamau even asking. He's like, I thought you might want this.
Yeah,
He's like, my husband wouldn't do that for me.
No, it's funny. My wife only recently got my drink order right. She'd sometimes bring it up like, this is a grande. It was like the best. The best part about being famous is random acts of niceness that you don't deserve and could live without, but you're like, yay! Like it happens to my kid. If I'm with my kids, people will just give them things, and my kids are just like, oh yes, and I'm like, you don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Say thank you.
Right.
And they're like, I said thank you. You can't say thank you too many times.
Yeah.
So it's the best and most ridiculous thing about it is that people give you things. And sometimes I accept them even though I don't really want this, like, you know, on planes all the time I feel like, stop trying to get me drunk, flight attendants, but yes, I will take it.
Right.
Because I remember when I didn't get these things for free.
Okay. So I have some questions from the audience.
Yes.
One is a really great question, which is, what do you think can or should be done to address implicit bias in policing?
First of all, let's call it racism.
Okay.
I'm
happy to call it racism.
I think there's...
You think it's hiding behind,
I think
implicit bias is...
there's too much reconstituting of racism. You know, like that we just want let's call a spade, pun intended. Yes. Yeah. Unless it's unactual, then don't. Some people have no idea what just happened there, but that's okay. I think we need to call racism. Sure. We need to also understand people call it implicit bias because they think it's not racism because racism means somebody dies. when really like there's multiple levels of racism. It's like a Richter scale. And there's like the level where it's like nobody died, but I feel shitty about myself now. There's a level where somebody died. And so like for me, it's like, I think that like really being comfortable, let's try, white people right now, and I know you're here because the lights are on and I can see your faces, just as loud as you can, just say the word racism. I'm gonna count to 3. Because you don't say racism enough and you're not comfortable saying it. And I know even though you're like, you feel like, but I came to see you, that's still, you can do better. Just you need to get more comfortable saying racism. So here we go, we're gonna count to 3. 1, 2, 3.
Racism.
Okay, let's try again. Some of you are like, Ray, are we really doing this? Let's try it again. Also, let's try to be on the beat. Okay, we're gonna try one more time. People of color.
You can't have it both ways, Kamau.
Yeah. That's true, good point. People of color, pull out your phones. Here we go, let's Instagram live this. Let's say 1, 2, 3.
Racism.
It's so funny how cheery it was. Racism!
I didn't know how to, I thought about that.
Now let's do it with the word nigger. All right, here we go, everybody. No, we're not doing that. It was just that was funny for me.
Yeah.
Then the black people were like, why you?
Yeah.
We got to go home, dude. We work with some of these people tomorrow.
Okay, so there is racism in the police force across the United States.
There is the America is built on white supremacy. That is the thing that pushes the thing. All of our institutions and structures are built on racism. Therefore, if you're a white-skinned person, fair-skinned person who comes from Europe today, even though you didn't participate in any of this, you're immediately benefiting from a legacy of white supremacy. And if you're a dark-skinned person from Nigeria who comes here today, you're immediately sort of suffering from America's racism. So all the institutions, schools, prisons, all the institutions, housing, banks, Starbucks.
Yeah.
If you start a company today, it is somehow it's factored into America's history of legacy of racism. So I think so. Yeah, and the police are just the sort of the blunt force end of it because they show up to sort things out when things go badly, and a lot of the things that police do, and that's why I say this all the time. Black people can affirm this. No black person calls the cops and sees a black cop show up and be like, "Oh, good, it's a black cop. Woo, this is gonna go better." So it's just the police are here, and so that is not. So I think that like there was, we talk about this in United Shades. Like there's points where black people felt like, oh, we need more black people on the police force, and then we learned, oh, they learned the same things the white cops learned. So for me, yes, the police force, and my uncle was a police officer, so it's not like I'm saying this is somebody who's like, I don't do it. I liked my uncle, but the way in which that police are trained to be police is clearly inherently built on America's legacy of white supremacy. So yeah, and that doesn't mean that, and I deal with cops all the time, and it's just a thing.
So how to make inroads? Like how will it get better?
I mean, I think this is, again, we're talking about big things. We have to, if we are going to get better, we have to completely break the system down that built it and start over.
What would that look like? Like how would you, where would you start?
To paraphrase Phil Hartman as Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer, I'm just a comedian. I'm happy to participate in those ideas, but I certainly have friends who have Kat Brooks in Oakland is a person who was in the Anti-Police Terror Project for years. That's the thing, the Anti-Police Terror Project, which talks about the idea of like how to, and people talk about defunding police departments because it's just the way in which they are built is not supportive of communities of color. This is all, a lot of times people think racism is a feeling. Racism is an economic force. It's Googleable, it's provable, it's statistically, the Pew Center has all this information. Like there was an article, so I feel like a conversation. We started a town hall meeting over here, but which is fun. But like there's an article the New York Times did that showed that black boys who are born into wealth, racism pulls them out of the income bracket they were born into. Just the legacy of racism in this country. So even if you're LeBron James's kid and you're born with $500 million, racism is going to pull you is likely to pull you out of that. So it's not the thing about, it's despite what a lot of people think, it's really more class than race. No, it's both and. It's not either or.
Can you talk about, this is total left turn, Can you talk about Anthony Bourdain a little bit and about your time with him in Kenya?
I certainly can do that. I love to talk about Anthony, Tony. So if you...
Can I start just by asking, were you so shocked?
Yes. I was. I woke up one morning. My wife woke me up. And we had one of the kids was in bed with us, and she like sent the kid out of the room, which at the time I didn't think about why that was weird. But then she said, she's like, and she. Just haven't thought about it in a while. I'm not afraid to cry in public. So she tells me that he killed himself, and I immediately do the thing you do. You grab your phone. All the things say that. Like, I'm checking all the things, and then also, like, I don't remember if I heard from somebody directly at CNN. I think once it was on CNN site, I knew it was true. This was like June, so I'd gone to Kenya with him and his crew, like, it was like March, it was like February into March. And so I hadn't talked to him since we had gone. When we left, he was like, take my phone number, we'll get together and go out to dinner in New York sometime. I'd been to New York a couple times since we'd filmed, and I was like, I don't want to bother him. And now I wish I had. Not that that was going to save him, but I just wish I had spent more time with him. So I was shocked. But at the same time, I've had people in my life and people that I've been associated with kill themselves, and so I kind of know it can happen to anybody. It doesn't, suicide is something, my dad, who's in insurance, just told me that like for 3 years in a row, the life expectancy of Americans has gone down, and a lot of it is linked to opioid abuse, and some of it is also suicide.
I saw that too.
And so, like, it's, certainly it happens in bunches. I just went to a funeral for somebody who killed himself last week, somebody close to my family, very close to my family. And so I've learned to not be Robin Williams, who I didn't know, but I knew. He was very nice to me at some point. So I've just come to accept, especially from people who are in the public sphere, that the pressures of being in the public sphere, what's going on in your head, it is super lonely to travel all the time. Even if you're traveling with people you like and you're friends with and you're doing work you like. I can certainly imagine anybody who does the lifestyle he had getting into a dark corner and not being able to figure the way out of it. So, but having said that, everybody who I know who worked with him was shocked. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody thought it was like he was likely to. He certainly was in touch with his darker side and darker elements, but that people thought that was his way of dealing with it. So I don't know. I have no information about what happened or how it happened, or like this. Or I don't have any additional information.
And did that lightning striking so close to you make you think differently about your career? Like, do you want to do United Shades for 20 years? Do you always want to be in the public eye? Is there a party that wants to step out?
I mean, there's a scene that's in the episode with Bourdain where we're sitting on the side of this hill in Kenya looking out at like these animals in the grasslands of outside of Nairobi. And it's like at the Lewa Wildlife. And there's this thing where you talk about where you film the conversation and then the camera needs wide shots for editing so they can cut the thing. So they did the wide shots, and then I was like, I'm going to tell this man what he means to me, separate from the show. They're not going to use it in the show, but I just need to tell him. So I told him, and then he leaned in and started talking about how lucky he felt and how amazing it is that he's lived the life he's lived. He's like, 16 years ago, I think he said, he's like, when I was 44 years old, I was dunking French fries in restaurants. And now I sit back and pinch myself about this life. And part of me was like, fuck, to do this for 16 years? I can't imagine it. It feels like it's just so much travel. And he was doing 16 episodes a year, which means you're doing it the whole year round. And he had a 10-year-old daughter. I got 3 kids. I just can't imagine the strain that puts on you after that long. So I want to do United. I hope to be the one who determines when United Shades ends. I hope it's not CNN coming to me and be like, nope, Tucker Carlson's going to be the new host or whatever. It's like thinking the opposite of me is Tucker Carlson. Just to be clear, fuck him. So, you can quote me on that. So I was like sort of in the so in the middle of this thing, like I just sort of was aware, like I was seeing the light, like I was going home after 11 days in Kenya. He was going to West Texas to film the next episode, and I was like, I got to go home. Like, I can't imagine going to work after this. And so I can't imagine, I don't want to be doing United Shades. Also, I just think somebody's going to be doing it. I think the thing that I'm doing at some point, hopefully there's other people doing things like this, and there are people doing them now, and I'll be like, I think I did my version of it, you know, and then other people are doing other things. I'm trying to work with other people right now to get them shows that are sort of in their version of United Shades of America. So I'm trying to produce other people. I want to produce other people. I don't want to be, I'm not going to be this good looking forever, everybody. I mean, I know it's a lot, but I just feel like I don't want to be the dumbest thing you can, I think one of the dumbest thing you can do in show business is rely on your face for your whole career.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, you got to, like, be able to, like, be creating enough other things that you can step away.
And did you like writing a book? Like, will you write more
No.
books? No. It's horrible. It's so horrible. I've written 4, and I hate it every single time.
No, and especially, like, I didn't even get that fun New York Times bestseller thing that some people got. So,
Hey, whatever.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to go through all that and not get on a list. No, it was really, I had so much going on when I wrote the book that I was lucky to get it in. And so, and also, all my friends who are writers are just writers, and they're like, they do that thing like, everybody, I'm gonna step away for the next year and I'm gonna go to a writer's retreat in the woods, and I'll come back when my book is done. And I was like, I'm on the road filming United Shades right now, doing gigs. I don't have that opportunity. So for me, it was like, I think maybe there's another book in me, but it's like later. You know.
And do you like doing gigs? Do you like doing stand-up still?
I do. I don't do as much stand-up as I used to. I had my Netflix special come out last year, and weirdly, it was like also, thank you, Private School Negro. Or if you didn't know that, my new special is out on Netflix, Private School Negro. That's how Netflix works. It's brand new. It's brand new. I love doing stand-up. I have done less stand-up since that special came out than I've done my whole career, just because I've been so busy doing other things. But it's like I feel sort of itchy for not doing stand-up like I really want to do. Like it's like the engine that fuels everything else.
Yeah. If Denzel Washington is number 1, period.
The greatest actor of all time, period, is Denzel Washington. Again, this is provable, just like racism. Weirdly, they're involved in the same. Yeah. The reason why people don't think of him as the greatest actor of all time is racism. Nobody's number 2, but if I was to do another podcast about the greatest actor of all time, Meryl Streep would be right there. I think Meryl Streep is like, it just, I mean, I feel like...
A resident of Connecticut, I think, right? Yeah.
Oh, really? Is she here?
Hey, Meryl, big shout out.
Devil Wears Prada is like, I will watch that movie right now if it's on. If it comes on back there, I'll be like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Hold on, I just got to get to the scene with the steak. Yes, Meryl Streep is beyond.
Will you give us some of your thoughts off the top of your head about all
And Viola Davis also, but we just need more.
You know
Viola
who I like?
Who?
Regina King.
Oh, yeah.
She just kills me.
I'm also at the age where I remember her on the sitcom 227, and there's nothing better than to see somebody who's like, oh, you think this is all I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
I just watched Jerry Maguire on the plane, and I must say, like, she's it for me.
I mean, I just was happy that she has been around long enough and worked hard enough and gotten the opportunities to prove how great an actor that she is. Because again, we still live in an era where there's kind of like, you know, remember when Halle Berry was the only black actress Hollywood recognized?
Yes.
We still live in an era that's adjacent to that. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like there's so much more in Regina King that we don't even know about because the industry hasn't made room for that. Meanwhile, if your last name is Hemsworth, you know,
Right.
they're like, you can play anything.
Right.
Can you?
Right.
I like Chris Hemsworth, but can you?
Let's talk about the 2,700 people running for president on the Democratic side.
I have no allegiances to anybody at this point. No,
That's fine, but just what are your impressions?
I really do hope that it's a proper Thunderdome battle.
Uh-huh.
So that the person who comes through is ready to take on Trump in a way that feels like maybe Hillary didn't. That's one of the things I felt like that because when we let it be like you're next, that doesn't seem to work. It doesn't work with Republicans either, like Jeb Bush.
Yeah.
And he sort of walked in like, my last name is Bush.
Yeah.
Boo!
Yeah.
So I think that I hope it's a proper, like, I don't even care if it gets a little dirty because I think you need to be prepared to get your knees skinned up to go after the guy who's like looking to skin your knees up.
Yeah.
So I think that like, I just hope that whoever comes through, and also the only thing I would say is like, if the main reason you're running is because you wish you had run before, just move on. Just. Or you wish you had done it differently, like you wish you had become friends with black people earlier or something like that. just be a supporter of this. I think there's definitely, I would like new voices in. I would like new.
So
If I had, as all these people, if I'd known Trump was running, well, that's too bad. You didn't. So time moves on. Yeah.
So you're a mama's boy.
I am, absolutely.
What's the best advice or comfort your mama ever gave to you?
She actively, when I was a kid, she told me I was doing this, but it's sort of a thing that I think she invoked and encouraged in me, was that quote, dance to the beat of your own drummer. Like for me, like so that my weirdness, I felt like I'm dancing to the beat of my own drummer when the world was reflecting me that I wasn't doing whatever I was doing correctly. So for me, like the reason I'm sitting in this shirt talking to you is because I was like always, I was always like, I know comedians normally do this, but I'm going to see if CNN is hiring, you know. So for me, dance to the beat of your own drummer is a thing that like there's a very common thing. And then it's funny, my friend Dwayne, who's a comedian, he used to hear my mom say this to me and he thought it was totally corny. And now he says, man, that shit paid off. For years, and this happened, if I would leave the house, my mom would say, go to meet your good. And I was supposed to go, I am the good. And my friend Dwayne would be like, that shit was corny as hell. Meanwhile, I have hired Dwayne to work on all my TV shows. He's like, that scam paid off. So like for me, that's a thing, like really actively thinking about as you go into the world, like not that I'm a good person all the time, but actively sort of go to meet your good, not go to sort of go get it, not like go wait for it or hope it comes. Yeah.
That's got to be the right place to end, right? Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.
So
Thank you.
fun.
Thank you.
Kamau Bell.
Thank you.